Good evening, everyone. How's everyone this evening? Welcome to the regular session of the Florida Housing Authority meeting. It's July 11th, 2022, and it's 5:05 p.m. Attorney Souza, the open meeting law, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The language for the open meeting law is as follows. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Thank you. Martha, the roll call, please.
Chairwoman Sahadi.
Here.
Vice Chairman Underhill.
Here.
Commissioner Burns.
Here.
Commissioner Bentley.
Here.
Commissioner Madeira.
Here.
First item on our agenda this evening is citizens' input. Do we have anyone here? Seeing no one. Residents' input? Next month, so no residents' input this evening either. Item 2 is the regular minutes of the meeting held on July 13th, 2022, and the special meeting on June 13th, 2022, and the special meeting held on June 22, 2022. The recommended action is to accept the minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of both meetings.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions regarding the two sets of minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 is the bills and communication. The vouchers, they're included in your packet. The recommended action is to accept them as presented.
Motion to accept bills and communication. Second.
Any questions with regard to them? Hearing no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 4 are the management reports. The 8 management reports are included in your packet. Item 1 is the applications. 2 is the occupancy reports. 3 is the tenant's accounts receivable. 4 are the work order report. 5 is the monthly Section 8 voucher activity report. Item 6 is the monthly personnel report. Item 7 is the Director of Monetization monthly report. And item 8 is the bank investment and bond debt balance reports. The recommended action is to accept the reports as presented.
Motion to accept the monthly management reports.
Second.
Any questions? We have our Director of Finance and our Director of Monetization here this evening. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 5 is the financial reports. The item A is the year-end top 5 compensation certification. It's for the fiscal year 2022. That's March 31, 2022. The recommended action is approval.
Motion approved. Second.
Any questions or concerns?
Yes, I do have a question, only because it seems relevant to our discussion later this evening. I see we have the previous executive director's compensation listed here. Is this correct?
Yes.
So could I get a breakdown of what this reflects?
Sure. Amber, did you prepare this? Can you help us? So I guess one of the very first questions, not to interrupt Jack, is this is broken out into the columns. I'm assuming they have to be filed with DHCD.
Correct.
So I guess we're looking for some explanation as to both the base salary and the other compensation column, and then maybe the comparison of that to the budget.
Yes, so the way that this works is anything that anyone is reimbursed for, that through a paycheck would count as other, so any mileage that's reimbursed, anything. I know that there's like a mileage stipend that he would get for his car, so those types of expenses would go in, so the budgeted salary would be 164, that's listed on here. However, obviously, he was paid more because when you add in the column where it says other compensation, that's what's included in there, like, so any of the, I'm trying to think of what it's called. It's any, like I said, any additional funds that anyone receives, but like cell phone stipends, if somebody has like a beeper charge, that goes through your paycheck, so that comes through. So that would be what the extra amount would be for. So the second to last column is what we budgeted for and what was approved for his salary. And then the difference between the two would be the other compensation line. The 7666.
So from the 164, 899 to the 171, 114,
Correct. So
what is
the difference between that?
yeah, what are those items that cause that difference?
So if he was reimbursed for literally anything to do with his hours, so if he ever like worked extra hours, I wasn't here at that point, but when it came down to what he was paid for that time being, it ended up being 171. So I don't know at any point if there was an increase, so if he received any additional funding, whether it was through the contract negotiations at any point in time, if he received that, which I know at last year, I'm assuming that he must have gotten something to that effect, any bonus structures, anything to that effect, that's what that comes from. But then also with the mileage, any additional fringe benefits that he would have gotten. I know we had paid him for the longevity also is, oh, no, it's okay.
Didn't we pay him the amounts that we had sent, that Chairwoman Sahadi sent him on the letter? And we paid out a bunch of his sick time, and I think that was paid before the end of the calendar year because he left January 28th.
So that final number is the 178,
Correct.
780.
Yeah, so like I said, a lot of times we budget for those things, but if any type of increase or like I said, anything that's paid out, I was even explaining to Kevin, when it comes to like if anyone pays anything out of pocket, if they get reimbursed through their paycheck, that also comes up just because the payroll report when we pull is just anything that we've paid them throughout the year. We obviously back out the, and it's the gross pay as well. So that's the gross figure.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
think, and I could be wrong, but you sort of pointed this out, they're all higher than the budget in the base. So I think that might have been the negotiations, is that potentially correct? It's the
Yes,
retro?
Yeah.
Because it looks like all 5 of these are higher than, the actual is higher than the budget.
Correct. So the only one that would be, there are 2 positions on here that would be higher, and that would be number 4, which I apologize, the title is incorrect. I couldn't update it prior to this because they have to revert it back. But that would be the Director of Field Ops. She was given an additional stipend for additional work with Section 8, so that is why that one would be higher. And then the Asset Manager was paid an additional stipend for the overlap between the absence of a Finance Director. So for the last, and as well as any retros is being paid. So those 2 are higher because of additional funding that they received for work that they were putting out. But then for the rest of them, they would be for retros, and then, like I said, any type of stipend that would be paid out.
So Amber, a question. So like for under the fringes, the amount that was used for personal use that he would have been taxed on, is that added?
Correct.
That's what that is, correct? Just for his personal use,
Yes,
not the benefit
correct.
of the housing authority?
Yes.
So it increases the salary because if he uses the vehicle for personal use, then we tax the person on the personal use, which gets added to their income because it's
Or
a
for instance, if you drive your car, we reimburse you for that mileage, that would also be in here, because it's just something that we're paying to you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6 is an update from the Executive Director.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I only have 3 items to update the board and the audience on. Last week, Tuesday at Pleasant View, we kicked off the summer lunch program with the Fall River Recreation. Grace Gerling runs that program. We met down at Pleasant View, the mayor, Grace, myself, Joe De Silva, the kids that will be working over the summer. The Housing Authority is collaborating with them. We're offering 5 of our family sites as locations for the lunch program and other activities, arts and crafts, sports. So it's a great thing for our residents, especially the youth. Every day from 11 to 1, they can go there and have a meal. During COVID, it was grab and go because of COVID. There was a meal, they took the meal, and then they would go back home. But now we're encouraging them and their families to stay in the park, eat the lunch in the park, participate in some activities, get them in some outdoor stuff. So we did that last Tuesday. It was filmed by Fred TV, so if you wanted to see the coverage of that, you can go on and look at that. We're still working on our new phone system upgrades. We had to do an extensive audit of different lines that we had at all of the locations. We did experience some locations had some static, so our new software, our new information technology preventative maintenance vendor is looking to correct that. So we're still working on those phone systems. It's a slow process, but hopefully we're going to be there soon. And the last thing is, on the agenda, you're going to see an item for DHCD Regional Capital Assistance team, and I can explain that in more detail when we get to that agenda item for anyone that's not familiar with that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Hearing none, moving on to new business. Item 1 is modernization. A is a certificate of substantial completion for the boiler and domestic water heater replacement at Cardinal Maderas Towers. The recommended action is approval.
Motion approved.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Jason and Joanne. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye. Madam Chair, I'd like to abstain from that vote.
Of course, thank you. Item B is a certificate of completion consolidation for boiler and domestic water heater replacement at Cardinal Maderas Towers. The recommended action is approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Same abstention? Thank you.
Item C is a certificate of final completion for site improvements / new video security system at Chor Bishop Joseph Eid Apartments. The recommended action is approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions with regard to this certificate? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item D is a contract award for smoke alarm replacement project at Sunset Hill. The recommended action is to award the contract to the low bidder, Bright-Light Electrical Company Incorporated, in the amount of $226,888.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions with regard to this contract? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item C is a certificate of substantial completion for the basement renovations upgrades at Maple Gardens. The recommended action is approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Item F is a DHCD ARPA Target Award for the Federal Pacific Panel and Fire Alarm system replacement. This is round one for Maple Gardens. This is for information. Can you give us a little bit more background on this, please?
Yes. So DHCD awarded us another round of funding through ARPA, but geared specifically for these Federal Pacific panels that are in the state unit developments only. We do have a few in the federal, but this is geared just for the state, and also the fire alarm systems. Many of the state developments throughout the state have these antiquated panels. They don't meet code. We had that issue during the basement renovations for Maple Gardens. The electrical inspector would not allow us to tie into these panels because they're old and somewhat dangerous. So DHCD is well aware of this. They're allocating special funding to housing authorities across the state for specifically geared to replace. There's not even a dollar amount limit on it. They're kind of saying whatever it costs to replace them, that's what we're gonna fund. So it's a good thing. So we don't have any other specific information other than that. We're not out to award yet or anything like that.
Sure. Anyone have any questions with regard to this award? Item 2 is miscellaneous. A is an HVAC on-call service contract. The recommended action is permission to award a 6-month contract to Advanced Air and Heat in the amount not to exceed $25,000.
Make a motion to approve. I also have a question, if that's appropriate.
Sure.
Do I have a second?
Just
Question, please.
6 months, is that what we normally do? Is there a reason, is there a benefit for it being 6 months?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Commissioner, I'll reiterate what was, we talked about last month. I understand, I think you may have been absent. Last fall, when I do these for the calendar year, have never been able to get bites on the HVAC on-call contract. I have no explanation why. We do the same thing that we do for our other internal trades and for the additional trades, glass and door, whatnot, glass fabrication, I should say, things of that nature. We've been able to get bites. As we went to, I would say probably late spring, working with the director of facilities, putting together a routine maintenance, changing of filters, things of that nature. One company expressed some interest. So the purpose of the 6-month is obviously we have a half a year left. I figure I'll align it with the other on-calls. The other on-calls typically are not to exceed 50, so we cut it in half, and we were able to actually secure 2 bids. Obviously, we'll due to procurement rules and then fiscal prudence, we'll go with the lower quote. So, but that's the reasoning for the half year. Now, those will match with the other maybe dozen that we hand out, but then the next round will be probably in November for 2023, calendar year 2023.
Perfect, reasonable explanation, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Item B is the John Deere Subcontract Tractors 2023 TX. The recommended action is permission to purchase 2 tractors from United AG and Turf in the amount of $24,518. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve permission to purchase.
And a second?
Second.
Any questions?
I just wanted to add to that, some of you who were here may have remembered back in November of last year, we had this on, you approved it. The executive director at that time, the night of the meeting, said maybe we should look into electrical tractors. So it got tabled. The director of facilities did his due diligence. The electrical tractors are actually more money, and there's still information out there that we're not sure of. What's the charging capacity? Do we have the facilities to install a machine or device to charge these things? So to be consistent with our other facilities machines, we want to stay with the gas-fueled tractors. So this was on before, it was approved in the past, now we're just coming back to it again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item C is DHCD Regional Capital Assistance Team, RCAT. The recommended action is waiver out of participation in the Regional Capital Assistance Team for 3 years.
So what that is, DHCD put this program together quite a few years ago. It's to assist small housing authorities. They kind of piggyback on a larger housing authority for purchasing power, for maintenance to their sites, for capital improvements. You have some small housing authorities that may only have 1 or 2 maintenance people. An executive director does everything. So what the state did is, for example, the Taunton Housing Authority collaborates with a couple of smaller Cape housing authorities as a team. The Fall River Housing Authority has always opted out. We're very large. We have our sufficient human resources, financial resources, and every 3 years, what I had to do in the past was just submit a letter stating that the Fall River Housing Authority wishes to opt out. Now they've changed it where they actually want a board vote that you're opting out, and also a letter from the Joint Tenants Council that they're in agreement with the particular housing authority opting out. So they've just changed the way you do it now. It's every 3 years, and from the start of this program, the Fall River Housing Authority didn't need any assistance from other housing authorities. It's geared toward small housing authorities.
So we've never participated?
We've never participated in it.
And I would assume, yeah, we don't need assistance, but is there any benefit that would go to our housing authority for providing assistance for the smaller ones?
At the time when they initiated it, I didn't see any benefit at the time. I was in modernization at the time and was asked by the executive director to opt out of it from researching when they were putting this program out. So to answer your question, I don't know of any benefits to us to participate.
Do I have a motion, do we have a motion to waive out of participation in the Regional Capital Assistance Team program?
Motion to waiver out participation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 on the agenda is personnel. A is the resignation of an employee. The recommended action is to accept the resignation of Brian Montalvo. He's a clerk interviewer, and the effective date of his resignation is July 1, 2022.
Motion to accept. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Item B is a clerk interviewer position. It's for the Section 8 department. The recommended action is to ratify an in-house posting and outside advertising on the website.
Motion to ratify and post.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 is also a resignation. It's the recommended action is to accept the resignation of Bobby Bailey. He was the Minority Outreach Coordinator, and the effective date was June 28th, 2022.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Bobby Bailey.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item D is the Deputy Executive Director position. The recommended action is approval of an in-house posting and outside advertising on the website.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item A is for executive session. As you all know, Mr. Spadella's appointment by the commission is here. was at the last special meeting on June 22nd, 2022. And at this time, the board will be entering into a contract negotiations with Mr. Spadella in anticipation of executive session under Mass General Law 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. It's anticipated that the board will come to the terms and conditions of Mr. Spadella's contract, will be negotiated and finalized. Once that's done, the contract will be developed and drafted by our attorney, Attorney Michael Souza, and it will be then signed and forwarded to the DHCD for its final approval and endorsement. So at this time, we will go into executive session. We will complete, hopefully, our negotiations this evening, and at that time, the board will adjourn its meeting, so we will not be coming back into open session. So thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. I need a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.